every time I'm like, hey, I'm in the city. You're like, great, I was there 2 days ago.
Right.
So anyways, it's always great to catch up and see your handsome face on Celebrity Entrepreneur.
Well, I have had quite a great start to the new year, and I was curious in this new year, what most excites you?
The thing that's most exciting is actually what I'm doing right now. I have today off and I get back to filming tomorrow, but I've created a YouTube show, a series called Unbound, and it's something I've wanted to do for a long, long time. It's basically going out and doing adventures and learning things and working with experts in a variety of different fields that I've always wanted to do. And so I was in the Everglades yesterday or the day before, working with an apex predator biologist and going and actually interacting in, waist high water with gators and crocs and snakes. And it was pretty wild. That's going to be a fun episode. And then we also did one in Miami all around fitness, tried a bunch of different classes, worked with some of my favorite trainers, and consulted my friend and your friend, Alvaro Nunez, as the expert at the end of that episode. So we got to hang out and pick his brain. I mean, he is, as you know, an extraordinary human being. He's not only running Ultramans, he's not only doing crazy feats like 7 marathons in 7 days. Here's the kicker, on 7 different continents. So talk about not sleeping and basically running straight for a week. He's truly remarkable, not just in terms of his physical feats, but in terms of his mindset and in terms of his heart. He's one of the kindest people I know. So I guess we're just getting right into the introduction for Alvaro, because that was a pretty good one. He's going to be jumping on the show with us right now. But that's got me the most excited, this show and interacting with friends like him and experts like him each time I have an adventure.
Yeah, that makes the show ultra compelling. And our friend is an extraordinary human being, and so are you. And I applaud you for taking the time. Now, are you coordinated within the tour still, or is that when does that start back up?
Yeah, we're still going. So we are going to be picking back up mid-February, go to Mexico, and then all through Latin America, then Australia, then Dubai, Hawaii in between there. Forgot about that one. And then we're ending in Tokyo, which is going to be heck of a run. It'll be almost a year-long tour once we're done.
That's awesome. Well, let me know when you're in Dubai. I'm doing a lot more as I came back from the summit in Dubai with the government there. And Julie and I got our golden visas, so love to connect there. So anyways, our dear friends here from Miami, and I want to get right into it. Alvaro, have you ever read David Hawkins' Power versus Force?
No, it's one of the books that I have on the list, and I definitely need to get to it.
It's interesting because, the idea of power versus force is how you actually do what you do, because what you do, most people think is impossible. Just like Roger Bannister so many years ago at Oxford, breaking the 4-minute mile, people thought that was impossible. And then once he did it, everybody did it. And so I was just curious, when you take on a feat like 7 marathons in 7 days in 7 continents, and everybody around you tells you that is humanly impossible, just like they told Roger Bannister that breaking a 4-minute mile is humanly impossible. What is it within the context of the field that you live in versus I'm going to make this happen, the force that creates a counterforce? I'm curious your mindset of expanding beyond other people's imagination. Your reality expands past other people's imagination. That's quite a feat.
Yeah, absolutely. And what a great introduction. Thank you, James and David, for having me here. I forgot the memo of the hat, but I'll try to keep it nice and classy.
That just means you woke up before us and did your hair. We just threw these on so we didn't know.
That just means you have hair.
Oh, well, James has pretty good hair, though.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, I got them locks, but I didn't feel like taming it this morning. So
no, you guys are looking great. I honestly think, David, back to your question, it all comes down to how everything happens twice, first in your mind and then in reality. And a lot of people always think that distance between their goals and reality is so far out that it's just between your ears, and that's your mind. So I've always been very conscious about how can I work my mind to have those limiting beliefs taken out of the equation, because what people say that it's impossible is just for them, but it doesn't need to be necessarily for you. So I've always been this big believer that if I take limits out of the equation, it's just a matter of how can I work towards that. And it compounds. It's something that a lot of people don't realize, that consistency compounds. I don't take these feats thinking, well, I'm going to do this and hopefully it'll happen. No, you make a plan and you stay consistent to get to that point, but you do reverse engineering. So for me, it's always about, when do I want to do this goal and how do I break it down towards tangible actions that I can do daily?
Well, I was just with Alvaro in Miami, as I was saying a couple of days ago, filming one of the episodes for Unbound. And I haven't posted the clip yet, but you know what? Since this is a smaller but dedicated audience that's going to be tuning in and watching right now, I'm going to give it away. At the end of it, I was asking him, authentically, genuinely, like, hey, I wanted to get into running, and I've thought about running longer distances. And I was like, maybe I'll do a half marathon, maybe. And he basically said, why? I said, why not just go for a full marathon? And I said, well, and to his point, though, he's like, think bigger. Work backwards. If you think halfway, then maybe you get a quarter of the way. But if you think all the way, like something like just start with a marathon, you can break it down just like he was explaining. And then the clip I haven't posted yet is he challenged me to run a marathon with him next time I see him. And well, I accepted on camera. Now I've said it live, so I have to do it, which I love. And already yesterday, my friend, I was messaging him after my 2 miles working on sprints. I got the Nike Run Club app. I am all in with this. And it's so exciting. So that's my little baby step to understanding how Alvaro has gotten to this extraordinary level. He was telling me he started with a similar thing, like, hey, just start with the marathon. And then once that becomes easy, pick something bigger. So I have to say, I'm in awe. I have so much respect for you. When I met you, this is maybe 3-4 years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
You came across exactly like you're coming across right now, which is so happy, so kind, so driven. And all of this seemed like, is he really that way? And I got to say, you are annoyingly productive, annoyingly kind, annoyingly genuine. And it's an honor to still, consider you a friend, get to know you even more and more, and watch you. But I want to follow that criticism up with a question. For those of us that aren't where you are in terms of their physical journey, in terms of their mental journey, for me, let's say the marathon is another good step. But what advice would you give for somebody who hasn't even run a mile yet? They're just starting their fitness journey. Where would be a good place for them mentally and physically to set a goal?
Right. No, it's a great question. And it all comes down to the mental miles. It's not just how much you run, but also how much you put on your mind. And I think that all you have right now is all you need to get started. A lot of people try to overcomplicate things. They get overwhelmed with the bigger goal and then they get paralyzed. And I think that it's just a matter of taking action and improving along the way. So when you sign up for a marathon, rather than going and trying to get everything figured out, the coaching, the training, the shoes, the food, the whatever, just go for a run. You have shoes already, go out and do it. And then start learning and improving as you go. And this applies the same thing for business, for relationships, like for anything that you want to do. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to start with what you got.
I love that. Alvaro, you make a really good point about we get to pick and choose what we not only pay attention to or give intention to. And, in coaching a lot of high performers, they'll start obsessing on certain things and prioritizing certain things that aren't aligned with their divine direction. And I think marathon running is one of those things that I see high performers get a little bit confused. I always ask the question, for the sake of what? For the sake of what are you going to train for a marathon? And from the objectives in my coaching with somebody, I want to make sure they're making a wise decision, because I would rather them, for example, run the half marathon and spend the time with that devotional behavior that is more aligned with their divine direction. They'll tell me that, I want to build this business more than anything, but then they'll start obsessing on and taking up, let's just say, too many hours in the day that could be attributed to a different pursuit with the same devotion. And I say devotion in a meaning that it's beyond discipline. People get so busy doing things, they forget their outcome. So they get so busy working, they forget to make money. They get so busy training for a marathon, they forget to stay in business. and then they wonder where it's at. In someone like you that has utilized this devotion not only for the ultra marathons, but also for speaking and business and brand building and all the things that you do, how do we help people understand that it's okay for guys like me that run 3.5 miles and spend more time doing the things that are aligned with my divine direction than spending the time to run a marathon? How do you help people prioritize with their time so they don't get caught up into the getting so busy doing something they forget their own objectives?
Man, that's a great question. And that's something that, like you said, you see this often, right? A lot of people are trying to get into that big goal and then they get completely out of balance. And back to devotion, I always say that motivation fades, devotion stays. You can be very motivated starting the year, and then guess what's going to happen? You're just going to start sliding back into your old patterns and habits. But if you have that devotion, that's what's going to keep you moving forward. So back to your point, I think that a lot of people, they lose the Northern Star by trying to do something very big. I always talk about the wheel of life. It's that compass that keeps you aligned into the different areas. So it's okay to be unbalanced a little bit in certain areas if you really want to find that stretch, accomplish something bigger. But if you zoom out, make sure that you are still taking care of the other areas. I personally, when I embark on these big challenges, like last year, I was doing Race Across America. It's the world's toughest bicycle race from California to New Jersey under 12 days with over 175,000 feet of elevation. That's like climbing Everest 5 times on your bike. And you got to do it under 12 days. I did it in 11 days and 23 hours. But to your point, and just so you know, only a handful of people can finish this race solo, because people do it in teams, which means it's a relay. They alternate between them. I did it solo. And when you take a challenge of this magnitude, and not even as a cyclist, because I'm not a professional cyclist, I did it because if I don't like cycling and if I don't have any prior cycling experience, how can I take not a regular race? I want to aim for the biggest challenge that ever exists in the sport. And whatever I need to do to get there is going to be the process, right? So that's how I always look at these challenges. If I'm going to do something, let me aim for the biggest thing. And I know that during that process, I'm going to be unbalanced. I was training 10 to 15 hours per day on a bike. Sometimes I had to go at midnight for bike ride sessions to learn how to be at night during these bikes sessions. And guess what? During the race, 23 hours on the bike, 1 hour of sleep, 30 minutes at midnight, 30 minutes at midday for 12 days straight. So the reason I'm bringing this analogy is because ultimately what kept me going was the why behind the challenge, right? I made a promise with my father, who was battling with cancer, that if I didn't give up on the race, he wouldn't give up on his life. And I'll tell you something about this, because during that time, my business took the price on it. The relationships took the price on it. Everything else in that wheel of life took a big toll. But as I zoom out after that race, I put back the energy and the intention into these other areas. So for the person out there that wants to train for a marathon, it's okay if you train for that marathon, as long as you're still keeping in mind what matters in your life. If you're just going into this journey and forget about everything else, then you're going to remain unbalanced, and that's not going to give you fulfillment. But if you're able to create habits, because the habits that I created through that process of doing this race are habits that now I'm bringing into relationships, into business, into everything else. So whatever you learn in those big challenges are going to stretch you to become a better human.
That's incredible.
Wow.
Let me just backtrack a little bit. 3.5 miles is not nothing, David. As somebody who is just getting into running, that's still a lot of miles, okay? I think that's awesome, Alvaro. That's really just a good reminder to me. I think anybody listening right now, that whatever you're learning from one thing can be and should be applicable to the rest of your life. And perhaps if it's not, maybe that's not where you should be putting your focus. So I think, I also often get asked the question, like, how do you find balance? And frankly, I'm not sure that there is such thing as perfect balance. In fact, the more I've thought about it, if I am shooting to always be perfectly balanced, that means I'm quite literally aiming for mediocrity, the middle. And I think that's BS.
Yeah.
So why go all in on something, or better yet, all in on everything? Because that is an unbalanced situation that I learn from, that I crave. And so sometimes it's all in over here, and maybe the balance is all in over there. I think that's not only okay personally, I have found the most growth from committing to something like a marathon or something like business as a startup. You have to be all in for years on end. And then when you can zoom back, like you're saying, it's necessary to take those step backs and go, okay, where do I need to put other energy? Maybe my relationships, maybe my health has been neglected over here because of this. And you assess and you recalibrate. But to shoot for being balanced all the time, I don't think that's the way to go ever.
Yeah, harmony is the word that I like to use. There is no balance, right?
Yeah.
And according to your circumstantial behaviors and your non-negotiable behaviors, you can create that harmony. So if you do go all in on something, you're still spending a minimum amount of time on your relationships, on your finance, on your faith, on your other things that may not be aligned as much with that all in, like, you know, driving for the sake of saving your father's life. That becomes a situation of harmony, and balance has no place into it. But Alvaro, how do you feel about harmony and balance?
Great point. And I agree with you that those are the key ingredients to have a fulfilled life. A lot of people are looking for different terms. I like the term alignment. And that is something that you start seeing over time, how you find harmony and balance through alignment. As long as everything that you do is simultaneously working together, because you know that whatever you're doing in one area is going to apply in other areas. And how you do one thing is how you do everything. So I do believe that ultimately, through all these different things that I've done in life, it has stretched me so much. Even like when James was talking about the 7 marathons in 7 continents in 7 days, right as soon as I finished that race, I went 7 days into a cave, pitch black by myself, small little hole underground, alone, pure stillness, pitch black. So the contrast there was so big that it makes you realize that you don't have to be in one extreme or the other to find that harmony. It's about the in-between and how you approach that. And I think that not a lot of people get to that realization because we're always so triggered by everything that is happening in our lives. So the word equanimity, which is what I will resonate deeply with harmony and balance, is to just observe and not react and take action from a position of calmness. And that you find it when you start having the conversations with yourself, because not everybody wants to take the time to have those internal dialogues. And that's what's going to really unveil who you really are and how you want to approach life.
You're an amazing human being, that's for sure. And I love the fact that some people take their own personal endeavors and help empower others to reach their own personal potentials as well. And being open-minded, open-hearted, and open-handed for each and every one of us to appreciate not only our differences, but our perception and our limitations. You know, it's so incredible to watch both of you and everything that you can get done. And I think a lot of people, about 98% of the drifters out there, have no idea how this all occurs. And, you know, some of the things that I think about is too many people look at circumstances instead of their vision. They're entitled themselves. They lack devotion. They utilize blame, shame, and justification, self-pity. And then that leads to the complacency of, I can't, or I'll do it tomorrow, feeling overwhelmed or procrastinating. And you two are, to me, great illustrations, icons of fulfillment, passion, purpose, and profitability. And blessed to have you here on the Entrepreneur Show, the Celebrity Entrepreneur Show. Alvaro, we look forward to many more feats from you and inspiration and aspiration. We look forward to getting together. James, I'll look forward to missing you by 1 day or 2 days this 2026.
How we do it.
Hopefully I'll see you soon. But thank you so much, Alvaro, for joining us.
Thank you so
Alvaro,
much.
thank you, my friend. It means a lot.
Thank you so much.
Jump on. I'll see you soon.
You're amazing. Bye-bye. Thanks for taking the time, brother. Go work out. Man.
He's like, actually, it's a rest day.
Yeah, exactly. His rest days are like our full workout days. Trust me. That's rest for him.
For
I'm just gonna run a half marathon to warm up the day. You know, I'm relaxing today.
He'll run a full marathon to warm up. I mean, that's where he's at. It's incredible.
Yeah.
He's inspiring every time I spend time with him. Hey, I want to ask you, since we didn't get too many questions for you in this episode, you've been in some incredible places, as always. Where's been one of your favorite stops recently?
It has to be Africa. I consider Africa to be like the Masters. I've been to the Masters for 35 years. And as moving into these later years, I'm always like, well, I don't really need to go into the Masters. I've been so many different times. And then I always end up going into the Masters. And when I get into the Masters, it's a force field, it's a frequency, it's a neighborhood that's elevated beyond like Disneyland. You don't want to go to Disneyland for the 50th time when you're a dad. You'll find out when you have kids. And then every time you go, the minute you go through the gates, it's just a different frequency. And so Africa to me, I mean, you're experiencing some of what I get to experience in Africa with your Unbounded tour with, gators and turtles. And I swam with dolphins and sea lions and got to be with rhinos and tigers. I mean, lions, and it was ridiculous. And it's the 4th time I've been to Africa, and every time's different, but it's the same frequency. So I encourage anyone to go on safari. I'm a big picture taker. I'm not a big hunter. So I encourage people to use their iPhones, not guns. I like, I think we get as much thrill out of taking a picture of an elephant or a zebra or whatever without having to shoot them. But that's my personal opinion. And as long as it's legal, you do what you do. But thanks for asking. What was your takeaway for the day, James?
I feel like every time I speak with Alvaro, I have multiple takeaways, but something he said, the simplest thing he said actually resonated with me the most, which is you don't need to have everything lined up and everything perfect. He's like, if you want to run, you already have a pair of shoes. Just go do it. I think that is one of the most tangible bits of encouragement that I could pass on to anyone else. You want to do something, pardon me, you already have at least the baseline access to do it, right? You want to get into shape, you don't need a gym. You got the floor, you can do push-ups, squats, lunges. I think that's applicable to business, to fitness, to relationships, anything. You already, and we already have enough to take a step or 2 or 10. Start there and then do that first. Don't wait for the perfect opportunity. Don't wait to buy the perfect shoes or find the perfect coach. Just freaking start. That to me is the best advice that he gave in that whole bit.
Yeah, it's interesting. I have a theory called lowering the bar. And I talk about when I was 47 pounds overweight, the first day I laid out my clothes and said, I'm going to put my gym clothes on today. That's how far I lowered the bar. And, started there. And then I said, you know what? My gym clothes, I'm going to drive to the gym. And I got to the gym. I said, you know what? I'm going to do 5 minutes on the elliptical trainer, and ended up doing 30. And that was the start of, where I am today. Just turned 58 a couple of days ago.
You flexed earlier on, and that was pretty impressive. Give me another one of those real quick.
We're getting there, man. We're getting there.
Look at that. You're looking
We're
great.
Getting there. But, I was telling my wife, I'm in better shape at 58 than I was at 38 or 48. So I've changed all of those behaviors. And it started with putting on my gym clothes. So that really resonates with me. And then the second takeaway was the one that you made. Don't seek balance. Balance is bullshit. In your life, in the whole picture, you want to have spent a quarter of your time on personal stuff, a quarter of your time on professional, a quarter of your time giving to others, a quarter of your time receiving yourself. In the end, 80, 90, 100, in my case, 111 years or more. But that is the harmony. Balance will achieve its own long-term success, non-linear, non-man-made constructs. The infinite is already balanced and harmonized. And the more you're harmonized, the more you'll achieve balance. Man, it's so good to get back on this show. I'm so proud of you. Look forward to seeing Unbound on YouTube and all the clips. It sounds super awesome. And if there's anything I can do for you, but I certainly would love to see you in person. At least
I will definitely drag you into an episode soon. Don't you worry.
No problem. As long as I don't have to swim with crocodiles, I'll be fine.
I don't know. There's no guarantee of that.
All right, you're a stud. Please send my love to everybody there in Nashville.
Well, Caitlin says hello, by the way.
Julie and the kids all love you. We're your big fans. You can call us stans, like Eminem. So we love you, man. The incredible James Maslow here on the Celebrity Entrepreneur Show. Thank you, brother. All right, everyone. Real quick, just to review one more time, we will be in New York Meetups Holding Court, VIP dinner, then Mar-a-Lago, and then San Diego this week. Las Vegas, season 10 of Office Hours, SoFi Stadium Mastermind. We'll be with Mr. Beast and the Aspire Tour in Charlotte, North Carolina, then the Super Bowl, then the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. I'm inviting James Maslow to all of these, by the way, so we're not a day off. Maybe we can see him. Anyways, if you'd like to join us, it's david@dmeltzer.com, or join our text community to be informed and invited. 949-298-2905. Stay informed and invited. If you don't want to be informed and don't want to be invited, do not text me at 949-298-2905. Remember, most